Why did Han Li's cultivation speed, with his fake spiritual root, completely outpace cultivators with heavenly spiritual roots after he successfully formed his nascent soul? He became a once-in-10,000 years cultivation genius. This was especially true after he reached the spirit world. He soared to great heights and set a record of advancing to great accomplishment in less than 3,000 years. In the cognition of the cultivation world, the spiritual root is the lifeblood of a cultivator. Those with heavenly spiritual roots rise to prominence overnight. Those with dual spiritual roots have a smooth journey, while those with 5 spiritual roots or fake spiritual roots have always been labeled as hopeless for foundation establishment. The core reason for this conclusion lies in the mortal world's thin spiritual energy and scarce resources, which simply cannot support the massive resource demand required for fake spiritual root cultivation. However, once the resource bottleneck is broken, the potential of a fake spiritual root will be fully unleashed, and Han Li happened to possess the small green vial that shattered this perception. This seemingly ordinary vial condenses some emerald green spiritual liquid every night. When the liquid is dropped on ordinary herbs, it can quickly ripen them into century-old, millennium-old, or even 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs in a short time. Therefore, for other cultivators, foundation establishment pills are precious treasures that require contribution points to queue up for exchange in sex. Han Li, however, could refine dozens of them on his own with sufficient spiritual herbs, and soon steadily broke through to the foundation establishment stage. When news spread that he had successfully reached foundation establishment with a fake spiritual root, the disdain on the faces of his fellow disciples who once looked down on him instantly turned to shock and embarrassment. Han Li, relying on his strength and opportunity, thoroughly shattered the inherent perception of fake spiritual roots. Whether it was key-condensing pills or foundation-nourishing pills, they were nothing more than his daily rations. With the resource freedom brought by the small green vial, Han Li's cultivation progressed by leaps and bounds. Even in the early stage of foundation establishment, he had the ability to fight cultivators in the mid to late stages. More surprisingly, he formed his nascent soul at over 200 years old, becoming the youngest nascent soul cultivator in the Tianan region in tens of thousands of years. It is worth noting that even the proud sons of sects back then needed more than 200 years after foundation establishment to have a chance of forming a nascent soul, yet Han Li set a record with a fake spiritual root. However, the small green vial could pile up resources, but not the foundation required for higher realms. Later, he was instructed by the Tianlin sacred beast to break through to the spirit transformation stage and beyond. He must complete the 5-element spiritual roots to achieve the 5-element cycle. Therefore, to make up for the missing metal attribute spiritual root, Han Li specially sneaked into the chaotic Star Sea and targeted the 10th-ranked Great Demon, the Golden Flood Dragon King. During this fierce battle, he not only killed the Golden Flood Dragon King and obtained its metal attribute demon core, but also took the opportunity to eliminate Feng Shi, the enemy who had chased him for months. After refining and integrating the demon core into his own spiritual root, Han Li's spiritual root system was completely perfected. The 5-element spiritual energy surged into his body like rivers converging into the sea, and the conversion rate soared several times compared to before. Later, after 300 years of seclusion in the fallen Demon Valley, he successfully broke through to the spirit transformation stage at the age of 885, becoming one of the few remaining spirit transformation powerhouses in the mortal world. The benefits of the 5-element spiritual roots go far beyond this. When he previously broke through to the Golden Core stage, Han Li often faced life-threatening dangers due to insufficient spiritual energy supply. Now, with the 5 elements generating and restraining each other in an endless cycle, the spiritual energy in his Danshin is as continuous as flowing water. More importantly, the all-attribute spiritual root made him a cultivation technique all-rounder. Whether it was the wood attribute green essence sword art or the fire attribute fire control technique, he could master them all. His cultivation efficiency was several times that of single spiritual root cultivators. Han Li's goal in completing his spiritual roots and improving his efficiency was to cultivate the magical primordial magnetism divine light. In the eyes of cultivators in the chaotic Star Sea, this technique was like tasteless chicken ribs. It required the primordial magnetism divine mountain for assistance, and more strictly, only cultivators above the nascent soul stage could begin practicing it. Furthermore, to cultivate it to the spirit transformation stage, one must possess the 5-element spiritual roots. But in the mortal world, 5 spiritual roots were recognized as a useless constitution. Even reaching foundation establishment was as difficult as climbing to the sky, making it impossible to even even touch this technique. Even Han Li's for spiritual roots only allowed him to form a nascent soul thanks to the unlimited resources from the small green vial. As for cultivators with heavenly or dual spiritual roots, they could only look on with envy. The Xianxia twin sages once forcefully practiced this technique, relying on the support of the primordial magnetism divine mountain. They barely got started. After hundreds of years of cultivation, they discovered that reaching the spirit transformation stage required the 5-element spiritual roots. In the end, they were stuck in the late nascent soul stage and could not make any progress, becoming prisoners of this technique. Their scheme against Han Li further highlighted the uniqueness of the technique. Initially, they tried to bind Han Li with their daughter Lin Yeling, but after being rejected, they took the initiative to teach him the primordial magnetism divine light. They thought that without the assistance of the primordial magnetism divine mountain, Han Li would make no progress in the technique, thus trapping him firmly in the Star Palace, protecting the palace's safety while having him look after Lin Yeling. However, they never expected that Han Li had already completed his 5-element spiritual route. Moreover, he secretly refined the red soul banner and directly packed away the entire primordial magnetism divine mountain, completely breaking free from their constraints. After the primordial magnetism divine light reached great accomplishment, it instantly became Han Li's natal divine ability. This technique is both offensive and defensive. It not only restrains all 5 elements powers in the world, but also tempers his mana when activated, making his true essence far purer than that of cultivators at the same stage. More miraculously, the powerful magnetic force contained within it can actively absorb the corresponding vitality between heaven and earth, fundamentally solving the problem of insufficient talent. When Han Li was in danger in the Qingluo desert of the spirit world, even after being reduced to a cripple due to mana counterattack, he could quickly absorb the world's spiritual energy to recover his cultivation by activating the primordial magnetism divine light. This laid the foundation for his later feats of sweeping through the barbarian wasteland and resisting the heavenly tribulation head-on. The combination of the 5-element spiritual roots and the primordial magnetism divine light also gave Han Li a huge advantage when breaking through to the void refinement stage, because the core of the void refinement stage is the unity of the 5 elements, an advantage he already possessed. In the spirit world, where cultivation cycles often last tens of thousands of years, Han Li's cultivation speed was unimaginable with his 5-element spiritual roots plus primordial magnetism divine light combination. While others struggled to advance one stage in 1,000 years, he broke through multiple bottlenecks in just a few hundred years. Eventually, he reached great accomplishment at the age of less than 3,000, becoming a recognized legend in the spirit world. From a mocked fake spiritual root loser to a powerful great accomplishment expert dominating the spirit world, Han Li's counterattack was never solely dependent on cheats. The small green vial gave him the capital to start, the 5-element spiritual roots completed his foundation, and the primordial magnetism divine light fully unleashed his potential. These 3 elements are closely linked. They not only shattered the physical prejudice in the cultivation world but also confirmed the truth: a true genius is never defined by innate conditions, but rewrites the rules with wisdom and opportunity.